Happy Learning Day, students! Education is a lifelong learning adventure. So welcome to English 8's virtual classroom. Happy virtual learning with Sir Ron Dries. Now, before we finally proceed to our topic, let us first define netiquette. So what is netiquette? It's a short term for internet etiquette. Netiquette is a code of good and preferred behavior on the internet. Observing and exercising good online behavior is not only mandatory, but also it is everyone's responsibility. Here are the important guidelines to keep in mind as you embrace the challenges of online classes. 1. Set up a good working or learning space. It is important that the place is quiet, clear, and free from distractions. 2. Have a respectful tone. When communicating with your teachers and classmates, observe a certain level of formality. Use respectful greetings and signatures like, "Good morning, Mr. Dow," "Hi, Ms. Taylor," "Please," and "Thank you." 3. Properly use the chat box. Don't post irrelevant remarks. Instead, use the chat box to clarify misconceptions or share great ideas you have about the topic at hand. Don't yell by typing in all caps. In most situations, typing in all caps is perceived as inappropriate. 4. Always make an effort to use proper punctuation, spelling, and grammar. Observing these ensures clear expression of your thoughts or ideas. 5. Make sure to submit your assignments the proper way. Knowing how to properly submit your work online is key to your success as an online student. Now for today's most essential learning competency, we are going to determine various social, moral, and economic issues discussed in the text listened to. And for today's objectives, we are expected to 1. Define social, moral, and economic issues. 2. Identify examples of social, moral, and economic issues. And 3. Determine various social, moral, and economic issues discussed in the listening text. Before anything else, let us first define the word issue. This word is a noun which means an important topic or problem for debate or discussion. It is something that people are talking about, thinking about, etc. Our country has been facing different kinds of issues. As a student, I want to know your reaction concerning this one. Claire, a 15-year-old student, got pregnant. What do you think will be the possible problems or issues that Claire will be facing in this kind of situation? Some of your answers may be classified or categorized as social, moral, and economic issue. Now let us define these important terms before identifying the examples in each category. Social issue is an issue that influences many citizens within a society. It is a group of common problems in present-day society and one that many people strive to solve. It is also an issue that has been recognized by society as a problem that is preventing society from functioning at an optimal level. Social issue examples: poverty. It is a state or condition in which a person or community lacks the financial resources and essentials for a minimum standard of living. If poverty exists, these problems also exist. Low income, no proper housing, no proper medical services, no proper education, insufficient supply of clean water and healthy foods, no or few job opportunities. Next one, environmental concerns due to human activities which include global warming, waste disposal, ozone layer depletion, water pollution, air pollution, and climate change. Healthcare. It is the set of services provided by a country or an organization for the treatment of the physically and mentally ill. The World Health Organization refers to the Filipino healthcare system as fragmented. There is a history of unfair and unequal access to health services that significantly affect the poor. The government spends little money on the program, which causes high out-of-pocket money spending and further widens the gap between the rich and the poor. Teenage pregnancy. It is the pregnancy in a woman 19 years of age or younger. Philippines has one of the highest adolescent birth rates among the ASEAN member states based on the recent World Bank data, with 47 births annually per 1,000 women aged 15 to 19. Other examples include graft and corruption, child labor, bullying, homelessness, stereotyping, war on drugs, overpopulation, civil rights, racial discrimination, and gender inequality. The next topic talks about moral issue. Moral is concerned with the principles of right and wrong behavior and the goodness or badness of human character. Morals are formed out of the person's values. These values are the foundation of a person's ability to judge between right and wrong. Moral issues are those actions which have the potential to help or harm others or ourselves. Examples: conformity. It is a behavior that follows the usual standards that are expected by a group or society. Do we have the right or responsibility to coerce or force others to behave well? Other examples: killing, slavery, gambling, extramarital and premarital relationships, physical and mental abuses, abortion, corruption, prostitution, and gender issues. The last one talks about economic issue. It is concerned with the organization of the money, industry, and trade of a society, region, or country. Economic issues include prospects for growth, inflation, energy, environment, inequality, labor issues, emerging markets, and the impact of new technologies. Examples of economic issue: unemployment, poverty, poor health care, income inequality, inflation, pandemic, and many others. Now let's go back to Claire's situation earlier, in which she is a 15-year-old student who got pregnant. Claire's problem here involves social, moral, and economic issues. Her situation is an example of a social issue because being pregnant at a young age is considered as a problem by the society. Moreover, this is also a moral issue because she had been engaged in premarital sex, which is considered as a negative behavior that violates the moral standard in the society. It is also an economic issue because she is just a 15-year-old student and her baby's basic needs and wants will be difficult to sustain, unless she will be supported by her boyfriend's family and her family, of course. Don't forget, class, that an issue can be categorized as social, moral, or economic at the same time depending on its effect to an individual or to an environment. Now, let us summarize the lesson. An issue is an important topic or problem for debate or discussion. It is also something that people are talking about, thinking about, and etc. And there are different types of issues. We have social issue, moral issue, and economic issue. Social issue is an issue that influences many citizens within a society. It is a group of common problem in present-day society and one that many people strive to solve. Moral issue has something to do with beliefs about what is right or wrong. And economic issue is concerned with the organization of money, industry, and trade of a society, region, or country. And let's practice! Listen to the following texts and determine the issue presented, whether it's social, moral, or economic. Are you guys ready? Now let's begin with listening text number 1. Poverty is the lack of the basic needs of life, including food, shelter, clothing, and safe drinking water. For a person to live normally, it is important to meet a certain level of physical, social, and emotional needs. People who live in poverty have difficult time to achieve those as they are not welcomed in many places. Because of their low incomes, they have troubles in maintaining their health, hunger, and education. Poverty has become a large issue around the world. It is something that many of us know about, but we are not realizing just how big of a problem it is. Did you listen very well? If so, what is the issue presented in the text number 1? Very good. It is all about poverty. And poverty is an example of economic issue. In the listening text, it describes and defines what poverty is. It also cited its causes and effects. Now let's proceed to listening text number 2. There are many reasons students choose to plagiarize or cheat. Reasons range from the more genuine lack of knowledge to outright dishonorable intentions. Collectively, the most frequently stated reasons students choose to plagiarize or cheat include desire to get a good grade, fear of failing, procrastination or poor time management, disinterest in the assignment, belief they will not get caught, and confusion about what constitutes plagiarism or current university policies. None of these instances are acceptable reasons to plagiarize, cheat, or commit other acts of academic dishonesty. Students who choose to plagiarize or cheat give themselves an unfair advantage on assignments and disrespect the hard work of others in the class. It is important that students understand that while there are reasons one might choose to plagiarize or cheat, Professors are interested in evaluating each student's own original work, not in evaluating the work done by others. Now, what do you think is the issue presented in the listening text number 2? There you have it. It's all about cheating. Cheating is an example of a moral issue. In the listening text, it presented various reasons that students choose to plagiarize or cheat. Moreover, it also presented a piece of advice for students to refrain from cheating. And now, we are down to listening text number 3. Women's participation in paid work is constrained by unpaid domestic and care work and a lack of productive employment opportunities. According to statistics from the Department of Labor and Employment, 30% of working-age women reported that household or family duties prevented them from participating in the labor market. The Philippines' relatively high World Economic Forum ranking arises partly because despite barriers to women's labor force participation, many women who are able to participate in paid work do access high-status occupations such as legislators, senior officials, managers, professionals, and technicians. This likely reflects effective gender equality policies in these particular areas. Were you able to identify the issue presented in the listening text number 3? Wow! You certainly did well today. It's all about gender inequality. And gender inequality is an example of a social issue. In this listening text, it presented what prevents women in participating in the labor market. You did great, learners. I knew you could do it. At this point, let us all watch the video about escaping from North Korea in search of freedom of the North Korean girl Yoonmi Park. Yoonmi Park tells her story of life in North Korea and calls for action against such human rights violators. Yoonmi was speaking at the One Young World Summit 2014 in Dublin.
I have to do this because this is not I'm speaking. This is the people who want to tell the world what they want to say. North Korea is an unimaginable country. There is only one channel on TV. There is no internet. We aren't free to sing, say, wear, or think what we want. North Korea is the only country in the world that executes people for making unauthorized international phone calls. North Koreans are being terrorized today. When I was growing up in North Korea, I never saw anything about love stories between men and women. No books, no songs, no press, no movies about love stories. There is no Romeo and Juliet. Every story was propaganda to brainwash us about the Kim dictators. I was born in 1993. And I was abducted at birth, even before I knew the words freedom or human rights. North Koreans are desperately seeking and dying for freedom at this moment. When I was 9 years old, I saw my friend's mother publicly executed. Her crime? Watching a Hollywood movie. expressing doubt about the greatness of the regime can get 3 generations of a family imprisoned or executed. When I was 4 years old, I was warned by my mother not to even whisper. The birds and mice couldn't hear me. I admit it. I thought the North Korean dictator could read my mind. My father died in China after we escaped North Korea. And I had to bury him at 3 a.m. in secret. I was 14 years old. I couldn't even cry. I was afraid to be sent back to North Korea. The day I escaped North Korea, I saw my mother raped. The rapist was a Chinese broker. He targeted me. I was 13 years old. There is a saying in North Korea, women are weak, but mothers are strong. My mother allowed herself to be raped in order to protect me. North Korean refugees, about 300,000, are vulnerable in China. 70% of North Korean and teenage girls are being victimized, sometimes sold for as little as $200. We walked across the Gobi Desert, following a compass. When they stopped working, we followed the stars to freedom. I felt only the stars were with us. Mongolia was our freedom moment. Death or dignity. Armed with knives, we were prepared to kill ourselves if we were going to be sent back to North Korea. We wanted to live as humans. People often ask me, how can we help North Koreans? There are many ways, but I would like to mention 3 for now. 1, educate yourself so you can raise awareness about human crisis in North Korea. 2, help and support North Korean refugees who are trying to escape to freedom. 3, petition China's stop repatriation. We have to shed light on the darkest place in the world. It isn't just North Korean human rights. It's our rights that North Korean dictators have violated for 7 decades. We need governments around the world to put more pressure on China to stop repatriation. In particular, Chinese delegates of One Young World can play a part by speaking out. North Korea is indescribable. No humans deserve to be oppressed just because of their birthplace. We need to focus less on the regime and more on the people who are being forgotten. One Young World, we are the ones who will make them visible. Fellow delegates, please join me as we make this a global movement to free North Koreans. When I was crossing the Gobi Desert, scared of dying, I thought nobody in this world cared. It seemed that only the stars were with me. But you have listened to my story. You have cared. Thank you very much.
We're not going to go to the floor. Can you get it?
After watching Yunmi Park's story about escaping from North Korea in search of freedom, let us do this brain gym number 1. Statements below are taken from Yunmi Park's speech. Identify which among the statements express a social issue, moral issue, or economic issue. Let us have number 1. North Koreans are desperately seeking and dying for freedom at this moment. Is it social, moral, or economic issue? And you got it right. It's a social issue. Let's proceed to the next item. I saw my mother raped. The rapist was a Chinese broker. Is it social, moral, or economic issue? That's a superb answer. It's a moral issue. Let us have number 3. 70% of the North Korean teenage girls are being victimized, sometimes sold for as little as $200. Wow, that's terrific! The correct answer is moral issue. And let's have the next item. There is only one channel on TV. There is no internet. We aren't free to sing, say, wear, or think what we want. Is it social, moral, or economic issue? Marvelous! The correct answer is social issue. And for the last item, no books, no songs, no press, no movies about love stories. There is no Romeo and Juliet. Every story was a propaganda to brainwash us about the Kim dictators. Is it a social issue, a moral issue, or an economic issue? Great! Now you have figured it out. The correct answer is social issue. And to further enhance your brains, let us do this brain gym number 2. What's the issue? Still, with the same instruction, tell whether the statement expresses social, moral, or economic issue. For item number 1, Manila Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez on Monday said at least 90,000 businesses in the Philippines remain closed half a year after the country imposed a lockdown to prevent the spread of coronavirus. Is it social, moral, or economic issue? That's correct. This is an example of an economic issue. Let's have number 2. When I expressed my intention to run for the student body, people kept on pounding on me being a woman, on my gender, instead of focusing on my merits, she says. I didn't really intend to win, but at the back of my mind, I just wanted to challenge the status quo. Is it social, moral, or economic issue? That's great! This is an example of a moral issue. And for the last item, the liquidation of the 15 billion fund allegedly lost to corruption is expected to be completed within the first quarter, a top official of the Philippine Health Insurance Corporation said. Is it social, moral, or economic issue? Wow, you are learning so fast. This is an example of a social issue. And there you got it, learners. Now that we're done with the lesson, I hope that you gained a lot from this online discussion of determining various social, moral, and economic issues presented in the text listened to. Once again, this is your Sir Ron Driz saying learning English is as easy as ABC. Enjoy learning right in the comfort of your homes. Stay safe and sane.